Hello and welcome to day 14 of the Beerjet Premium Advent Calendar. He's Matt.
And he's Luke.
And this day of Advent, we are drinking a beer from Three Ravens.
Yeah, so Three Ravens lay claim to being Melbourne's oldest brewery, or oldest independent brewery, I should say. So they're based out of, obviously, Melbourne in Australia. And this is another Beer Jerk exclusive import. This is their dark lager, and it's brewed single hopped with Eclipse.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, so Three Ravens have a long and storied history. They've changed hands once or maybe twice, but they're absolutely still independently owned. And in the last 5 years, we've just seen amazing innovation from the Three Ravens guys. So I visited just before the pandemic, actually, and it was just fantastic to go and see their whole setup. And they've got a really cool sort of dingy tap room that you should pay a visit to next time you're out there. And they do really, really great seasonals. They do a lot of stuff with wine. They've been doing a lot of wild ferment things, barrel-aged beers. They've got this series of Nat Ravs, which are, so we've had a few of those in, haven't we?
Yeah, so they're kind of co-ferments and often aged in barrels. So interesting, funky interpretations of sour beers. So they had a Cabernet Sauvignon barrel-aged sour. Yeah, really cool and interesting wild and barrel program there. One of the coolest things I think they did was that barley apera though.
They did a couple of things like that when the pandemic hit, and they were just stuck with a lot of beer, so huge volumes that they couldn't really shift. So they had to sort of pivot and be creative. And one of the beers that we got over, was it last Christmas time?
Might have been last Christmas, might even been the year before. We have had it in a couple of times.
Yeah.
But it's called Barley Apera, and it is a still port barrel aged fortified barley wine.
Yeah.
Which is insane. So it comes in this 500ml corked bottle. It is completely still, and it drinks like an apera, like a port or a sherry. And it's this rich, thick, viscous barley wine, no carbonation, and it's got one of those corks where you can re-put it in. So it's designed for sipping over a period of time. And it's just a really
19% ABV.
Yeah, really cool, innovative way to reimagine beer that you don't otherwise have a use for, to make it into something delicious. But this is already something delicious, so there's that.
It is, yeah. And so with a lot of their seasonal stuff, they do a lot with wine, which is that Nat Rav series. And there's so much good wine being made around their area in Melbourne, and just lots of fantastic grapes. So it's a really nice, unique take that they work with so many, with the flavours and what you can do with wine as well as beer. But yeah, this series so this is the Nevermore seasonal, and of course Nevermore from the famous
Edgar Allan Poe poem.
The Raven.
Yep. Those of you who are watching Wednesday on Netflix will get that reference.
Already. I also think about the Simpsons episode. I think they did a Treehouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
Where they had the Raven.
And the Raven was Bart, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Quaff the Raven, Nevermore.
But I reckon this is actually probably my favourite can out of the whole Advent calendar. That printed can with all that kind of splash of colour on it there is beautiful. And it's a really deceptive beer because it's described as a dark lager, and it tastes like a dark lager, but it's a lot paler than I expected when I first cracked this can. I was expecting something to be pitch black based on the name and the description, but it's more of an amber lager, but it still has that kind of roasty edge to it. So I think that they've probably used a decent amount of roasted malt in there, but it's not enough to really darken it up, because it does have that kind of almost a coffee note on the edge. But it's really nice to see that balanced with Eclipse, which is the hops that they're heroing here. So the base beer was traditionally hopped with Hallertau Mittelfrüh, which is I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'm giving it a go.
Close enough.
Which is one of the German noble hops from the Hallertau region. But they've double dry hopped this with Eclipse, which is an exclusive proprietary hop to Hop Products Australia. And it's got this really nice kind of citrusy mandarin, zesty note, kind of a hint of pine, and that kind of, I often find that kind of like dark malt and orange combination works really nicely.
Yeah.
As we saw a few days ago with the Good to the Grave from Sailor's Grave, where it had that similar kind of dark malt and citrus peel kind of combo working together.
Yeah, and you may have noticed that with our scheduling in the advent calendar, we've sort of been working in the bigger beers, the boozier ones, the more extreme ones for the weekends and for your Friday nights. And earlier in midweek, we've got more sort of sessionable, easygoing, like the Cerveza we had on Monday. And this beer it's only 4.7%, but it tastes a lot bigger. It's for me, it's just like it's almost like a Vienna lager or an amber lager. Yeah. But just the big hoppiness in there, the citrus character, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with this beer. I think it's going to be a crowd please. I can't imagine anyone not liking this. We've had a few comments from people when we've had beers like the Cerveza that it's boring, and I can get that people like big flavors, big interesting things. So I think this will be something that keeps the the geeks like me and Matt interested, but also perhaps the people that just like big interesting flavors. Yeah,
on that, I think one of the things that we try to do every year when we release the advent calendar and putting together the list of the beers that we're putting in there is, as Luke says, that balance between your big kind of punchy flavor explosions and just some really nice examples of beautifully crafted, more subtle beers.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bit of a to and fro, like trying to please traditionalists and experimentalists, as kind of Luke and I sit on that spectrum. So we're also trying to please ourselves. But yes, sometimes it's about big flavour and sometimes it's about subtlety. But as you say, this kind of is a bit of a showcase of both, which is really nice. And yeah, I find that it's got a good bit of body to it, which kind of carries that roast. If it didn't have that kind of hint of sweetness there on the front of the palate, I think that roast could get overwhelming. But they've integrated that pretty nicely, and then that citrus kind of sets it off really well as well. So
really enjoyable beer.
Yeah, really interesting beer. So definitely not what I expected quite when we ordered it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we did, because I've never had a beer quite like it, especially considering the colour.
Yeah, so really another impressive beer, as we would expect from Three Ravens. Everything they do is pretty awesome. There was that great thing they did a couple of years ago with the creamsicle series that we brought over.
Yeah, so they had those kind of, again, one of those first waves of ice cream sours, as we talked about when we talked about Dunkin's and One Drop. Three Ravens are definitely on that kind of train as well, with some of their releases. If they're not as 100% bought in as One Drop and Dunkin's are.
Yeah, but just the skills of the brewers, really, just to come up with the concepts and then execute it perfectly. So some of those beers were just so viscous and just so full-bodied. And I remember 2 or 3 years ago for us, we were just wowed that there were these brewers making beers like this. And now other people have sort of joined the party a bit. But yeah, Three Ravens is a brewery that's the oldest brewery in Melbourne. They've been leading the charge on a lot of things.
Keeping beer weird since 2003, as it says on the can.
Yeah, great work.
Oh yeah, and great work from Three Ravens. So
brilliant.
Cheers, jerks. We still hope to see you on Saturday at our Christmas party here at the Fridge and Flagon. We're having an incredible tap lineup. We actually do have a few more of these in the fridge exclusively for the Fridge and Flagon. So if you really enjoyed this, you can pick up a couple more cans.
Yeah, the fridges are looking pretty awesome at the Fridge and Flagon. So if you're looking to do any last-minute buying in the lead up to Christmas, stock up on anything, you can buy slabs from us here at the Fridge and Flagon. You can grab mixed cases, anything that's on our web shop, you can just buy to take away. Our fridges are full of some weird and interesting things that you would not find online or at many other places. We've got a few bottles from brewed fermentation in the chillers at the moment. We've got some interesting bottles from Wilderness, good wild ferment stuff. So a few really interesting niche things. So yeah, come along, have a beer with us on Saturday. We're going to have some great food, great music, and really special beers.
Cheers.
Till next time.